What's up, everyone? This is Elliott Connie, and for over 15 years I've helped thousands of counselors support their clients in finding solutions in their everyday lives, and worked with tens of thousands of clients of my own. And today I want to welcome you back to the aha moments where every day I share the lessons I've learned in my work and in my life to inspire you to live your very best life. And today I want to talk to you about the concept of loyalty and why loyalty matters so much, and why loyalty is so important, and why loyalty is such an important aspect of your life. You know, I learned why loyalty was so important in real early stages of my life. When I was a kid, my best friend was a guy named Kyle. Just like everybody else, like when I got to high school, drinking and drugs were a big problem in my high school, and there was a lot of peer pressure surrounded around drinking and drugs. And, you know, in middle school, I was like the popular kid and I had all the friends and everybody knew I was and all those things. And when I went to high school, everybody knew I was, and I was really good at sports. I ended up making a lot of friends very quickly. And these friends would invite me to parties. And I'm from a place where they would have parties, they would get like a keg. And I don't know if anybody has seen the movie Dazed and Confused. There's a scene in that movie where they're having a keg party outside in like a forested area, like in the woods, we used to call it. And I'm from an area that was just like that, like Dazed and Confused. That kind of keg party they had was a very common experience where I grew up in Massachusetts. And if you went to those parties and if you didn't drink and if you didn't use drugs, you were kind of looked down upon. You were kind of made fun of. You were kind of like not one of the cool kids, if you will. And I was really uncomfortable with the idea of drinking. I was really uncomfortable with the idea of using drugs. In fact, I still am. I don't drink to this day. I don't use drugs to this day. It's just not part of who I am. But one of the reasons I got through those years and literally got through all of my high school years having never touched alcohol and having never touched drugs is because of the loyalty of my best friend in high school, whose name is Kyle. And I'll never forget going to these parties with Kyle and knowing we were going to face this peer pressure. And I mean, it's funny now, like as an adult, you look back and you're like, well, because of peer pressure, you might drink, or you might use drugs or those sorts of things. But the honest to goodness answer is yes. The weight of peer pressure on a young teenage psyche is quite significant. And I almost gave into that peer pressure because of the weight of it. Except I always knew when I went to those parties, Kyle lived on the same street with me, and we would walk to those parties. Boston's a very walking city. So we would walk to those parties to hang out with our friends. Or when we got our driver's license, we'd go to those parties together. And I always knew, no matter what, I would not be the only person choosing to not drink. I always knew, no matter what, I would not be the only person choosing to not use drugs. And that significantly lessened the power of the peer pressure. And then we noticed something else happening. Because Kyle was a standout athlete and I was a standout athlete, we noticed something else happening. All of a sudden, it became cool to not drink. All of a sudden, it became cool to not use drugs. And as high school evolved, by the time we were seniors and by the time we were juniors, and by the time we were leaders in the high school, the parties did not involve drinking. The parties did not involve drugs. The parties involved, other mischievous things. I don't want to make it sound like we were like completely squeaky clean. We did other mischievous things. But because of the loyalty Kyle had towards me, and because of the loyalty I had towards Kyle, I made it through those years. People have often asked me how I managed to not drink. Like I've had clients who struggle with addiction issues, and they've often said, like, how have you managed to not use drugs? How have you managed to not drink? And it's not because I'm, stronger than anyone else. I'm not any different than anyone else. I'm just as human than anyone else. And sometimes I feel like I'm more human and I've got more flaws. But it's because of the loyalty of my best friend, because I always knew I was never making a decision alone. And I was able to reward him by giving him the same ability to know that he was never making a decision alone. And that's how powerful loyalty is. Like, find someone that's pulling in the same direction as you. Find someone who's working on the same goals as you. Find someone who's trying to become and achieve the same things that you're trying to become and achieve. And you start moving faster and quicker in the same direction together. So I want you to reflect on, when was the first time you learned about loyalty? What lessons did you learn and what do you carry with you to this very day? Thanks so much for being here today. Please do me a huge favor and share this podcast with at least one person that you think could benefit from hearing this message today. And don't forget to subscribe at Apple Podcasts. You can rate this podcast, leave feedback on this podcast. In fact, do that wherever you listen to your podcast, and I will see you tomorrow. What's up, everyone? This is Elliott Connie, and for over 15 years, I've helped thousands of counselors support their clients in finding solutions in their everyday lives, and worked with tens of thousands of clients on my own. And today I want to welcome you back to the aha moments where every day I share the lessons that I've learned in my work and in my life to inspire you to live your very best life. And today I'm going to talk to you about loyalty in your intimate relationships. So as a counselor, for many, many years, my specialty has been working with couples. I've written books about working with couples. I have spent more time in the past 15, 20 years working with couples than probably anyone in the world, actually. And let me tell you what I've learned in that process and why I think loyalty is so incredibly important. Number one, there are no perfect relationships and there are no perfect people within the relationships. People make mistakes. People do things they shouldn't do. People do things when they're not at their best. Like, we make mistakes. That's just part of being human, and that's just part of living life. And sometimes those mistakes impact our relationships. But some of the most profound things that I've ever seen are related to how loyal the two members of the relationship stay committed to one another. And sometimes that loyalty transforms or kind of crosses even the marriage itself. And I'm going to tell you two really quick stories of what I mean by that. Number one, several years ago, I had a couple and the woman had committed an affair. The woman had an affair. And the affair came out during the session. I remember her admitting that she had this affair and the husband started to cry, which isn't an uncommon experience because that's so hurtful. But what he did and said next was incredibly uncommon. So the woman admits to having an affair and she discloses who the affair was with. And the husband starts to cry. He puts his hands in his face. He starts to cry. And then he turned and he looked at his wife and he apologized to her to making her feel so neglected that she had to go find healing someplace else. And he stood up and he hugged her. And I sat there in complete and total awe as I watched this man almost instantaneously express remorse and forgiveness towards his wife. And I remember being impressed by his ability to be loyal to her, even while she had done something disloyal to him. While working with that couple over the next several weeks, you could really see them gain momentum and gain their footing and start to heal and repair their relationship because their loyalty was so strong to one another. Loyalty has a healing component. And another couple that I saw, this was a couple that actually decided to get a divorce. They had 3 children together. And through the therapy that they came to, I mean, this couple really did not get along very well whatsoever. And the therapy was more about helping the couple get along than it even was about the relationship itself. In time, this couple decided to get a divorce. And several years went by, and the couple decided to schedule another appointment with me. Now, I thought it was going to be because they wanted to address some sort of problem, or, maybe they wanted to heal their relationship, or they wanted to give it another go, whatever it was. But when they came to the therapy session, they simply wanted to thank me because they were describing that they used all of their tools and they now get along. They're both in other relationships and they use the tools that they learned in therapy to co-parent, and how well their children are doing and how well their children are thriving and the lives that they're able to provide to their children, even saying that it's almost like they gave their children the gift of 4 happy parents. Since both of them were married, their kids now have 2 step-parents, as opposed to 2 unhappy parents. And they were thanking me for that process. And that was another lesson to me that loyalty can kind of cross barriers. It doesn't just have to be within the relationship, or once the relationship ends, so too does my desire to make this person happy or my commitment to make this person happy. Loyalty is a decision, and so is love and relationships. It's a decision to be there for one another, even after the relationship ends, because oftentimes our obligations extend beyond the relationship obligations. Our obligations extend into life, into parenting, into business, into whatever. And loyalty says more about your commitment as a person than it does anything about the relationship itself. Those are probably the most important lessons I learned about loyalty after working with thousands upon thousands of couples. And I hope this lesson helps you as well. So I want you to think of, in your relationships in your life, in your closest relationships with your significant other, with your parents, with people close to you, just think of all of the ways that you show them loyalty and could show them loyalty. I promise it'll make a difference in your life. Hey, thanks so much for being here today. If you wouldn't mind, please do me a super huge favor and share this podcast with at least one person that you think could benefit from hearing this message today. And don't forget to head on over to Apple Podcasts, where you could like this podcast, you could rate this podcast, leave feedback for this podcast, subscribe to this podcast. In fact, do that anywhere where you consume your podcast. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. What's up, everyone? This is Elliott Connie. And for over 15 years, I've helped thousands of counselors support their clients in finding solutions in their everyday lives and worked with tens of thousands of clients on my own. And today I want to welcome you back to the aha moments where every day I share the lessons I've learned in my work and in my life to inspire you to live your very best life. And today I want to talk to you about a completely different kind of aspect of loyalty. Like, for the past couple of days, we talked about loyalty and how important it is and the difference it can make in your life and the way it can enhance your life to be loyal. But I also want to talk about when it's okay to be not loyal. I want to talk about when loyalty can actually be a detriment. You know, so often we kind of confuse loyalty to like enabling, like I'm enabling someone to be abusive towards me, or I'm enabling someone to be mistreating me. I'm enabling myself to stay in an environment or a relationship that is not beneficial to me. It is perfectly okay to remove relationships in your life that are no longer serving you in a healthy way. And it's perfectly okay to change the circumstances around your life that can make a difference. And I'm going to give you two examples. So I had a friend that very quickly became clear to me that this person is no longer someone that I want in my life, someone that I don't want around me. And what happened was some really good news had happened to me. And this friend called me and started saying like really horrible things to me, saying that they're going to like call me out on my behavior. And they were citing things from years prior to me, saying that they think I'm a bad person even, and saying like all these horrible things. When the truth is, they're just kind of envious of the good news that happened to me and the things going on in my life. But they took this as a time to just really like unload on me, and they think I'm changing and I'm letting the success go to my head and all these things that are just not true. And I asked her like, why you thought those things? I can just see it in you, she said. Well, one of the things that a really good friend does is a really good friend is supportive, and a really good friend is engaging. If a really good friend sees you going off on the deep end of bad behavior and really sees you changing in ways that aren't positive, a really good friend will communicate that to you in positive, supportive, and wonderful ways, and not abusive, difficult, unhealthy ways. It came very quickly to me that I'm not interested in having this person in my life any further. Literally, I told the person on the phone call, I was like, look, this is not working for me. I'm not pleased about this. I don't think we're going to be friends anymore. I got off the phone. The first thing I did was I went on social media and removed this person. Like, I don't want to talk to this person. I don't want to be engaged in a world with this person. I don't want this person around me in any way. So gone. And I think that's important to recognize. Like, that's not me being disloyal to this friend. That's me being loyal to me. That's me being loyal to my mental health. That's me being loyal to creating an environment that works for me. And then the second thing is like, you get to change your environment. I had dreams early on in my career. I had aspirations. I had things that I wanted to do. And when I would work at an agency early in my career, when that work was no longer supporting what I needed to do, when that work was no longer supporting where I wanted to go and how I wanted my career to go, it is okay to say like, this is no longer getting me where I want to go. You should be getting more from your job environment than simply finance. You should be getting joy, satisfaction, fulfillment. You should be getting your soul lit on fire. You should be getting excited and happy about doing all of the things that you want to do in your life. And once an environment is not suiting you, you can change it. And I remember going into that office because what I ultimately wanted was to have my own private practice. This job was no longer facilitating that. The environment of this place was no longer great for that. And I resigned shortly thereafter, went off and created my private practice, and the rest, as they say, is history. So it's not being disloyal to a company or a job. It's being loyal to your future. It's being loyal to your goals. And that's what you have to be brave enough to do. To understand where I have to do something that is seemingly disloyal and remove a friend from my life or change my job environment so that I can go and be loyal to who I want to be, and so that I can go and be loyal to what I want to do. And I want you to remember that, like, your career does not define you. Your purpose does. And you got to find a career that is in line with your purpose and in line with the person that you want to be. Hey, thanks for being here today. If you wouldn't mind doing me a huge favor, and please share this podcast with at least one person that you think could benefit from hearing this message today. And don't forget to head on over to Apple Podcasts, where you can rate this podcast, leave feedback for this podcast, and subscribe. In fact, do that wherever you listen to your podcast, and I will see you tomorrow. What's up, everyone? This is Elliott Connie, and for over 15 years, I've helped thousands of counselors support their clients in finding solutions for their everyday lives, and worked with tens of thousands of clients on my own. And today I want to welcome you back to the aha moments, where every day I share the lessons I've learned in my work and in my life to inspire you to live your best life. And today I want to continue talking to you about loyalty, and something happened recently in the world of sports that highlights the importance of loyalty. But before I get to that, I want to tell you why I think this matters so much. You know, I consider myself to be a very fortunate and a very blessed person. And one of the things that makes me feel so fortunate and so blessed are the people I have in my life. Professionally, I have an amazing team that supports me, encourages me. I mean, this team works very, very hard to make my dreams come true. And I hope that they know I work just as hard to make sure that this job is making their dreams come true. None of us can get to where we're going alone. None of us. We all need someone to do things in our lives, to play a role in our lives, to kind of carry things forward. Now, I told you, something happened in the world of sports recently that kind of highlights this. In American football, there's a position called quarterback. And the greatest quarterback to ever play football is a guy named Tom Brady. And think about the job of a quarterback. A quarterback is the guy who throws the football to the receiver. And in order for Tom Brady to be considered the greatest quarterback to ever live, that means a lot of receivers had to catch the balls he was throwing. One of those receivers is a guy named Rob Gronkowski. And Rob Gronkowski has been playing on teams, multiple teams, with Tom Brady for many, many years. And this really cool thing happened in a game just this past weekend, where Rob Gronkowski needed 7 catches in the last game of the season to get a bonus in his contract. See, the way football works is football players often get incentives in their contracts. If you do this many things, like if you catch this many balls or if you run for this many yards, you will get a bonus per your contract. And Rob Gronkowski was 7 catches away from getting a bonus of $1 million. Now, it's the last game of the season, and the team that they play on is called the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they're gearing up for the playoffs. And they're winning this last game of the season, so the coach decides to take all of the players out of the game so no one is going to get hurt, and play all of the backups. And Tom Brady, the great quarterback, refused to come out of the game until he helped his friend get $1 million bonus by catching 7 passes. That's loyalty, is when you do things to help someone else achieve their goals. When I look around my life, I'm truly amazed at how many people are doing things to help me achieve my goals. And I want to make sure when they look around their lives that they're truly amazed at how many people, specifically me, are doing things to help them achieve their goals. It really, really is true. We all need other people in our lives to play a role. I heard a quote once that said, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And it requires that you surround yourself with people that are doing things for the benefit of your life selflessly. Like they're not looking to get anything, to gain anything. They truly just want to see you soar. They truly just want to see you happy. They truly just want to see you successful. And the only thing they get from it is the benefit of knowing that you are joyous and you are happy and you are successful. But then you also have to be that for other people too. You also have to be that thing in other people's life where you are really contributing to their joy, to their success, and to their happiness selflessly. We all need a friend like Rob Gronkowski who will catch the passes that you throw and make you look good. And we all need a friend like Tom Brady who will sacrifice himself and do hard work to make sure you get the bonuses in your life. Thank you so much for being here today. If you wouldn't mind, please do me a super huge favor. I'd love it if you'd share this podcast with at least one person in your life that could benefit from hearing this message today. Share it on your social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. And don't forget to head on over to Apple Podcasts where you can subscribe, rate this podcast, or leave feedback. In fact, do that wherever you listen to your podcast, and I will see you tomorrow. What's up, everyone? This is Elliott Connie, and for over 15 years, I've helped tens of thousands of counselors support their clients and worked with tens of thousands of clients on my own in finding solutions for their everyday lives. And today I want to welcome you back to the aha moments where every day I share the lessons I've learned in my work and in my life to inspire you to live your very best life. And today I want to continue talking about loyalty and share what is probably the most important aspect of loyalty, probably the most important component of this lesson, and that is how to be loyal to yourself. One of the things that I learned early in my life and how important it was to stay loyal, and we oftentimes refer to this as committed, but let me tell you a story and give you an example. My college education started in Massachusetts. You know, some family things happened and life's twists and turns, and we ended up needing to move to Texas. And I wasn't comfortable being in Massachusetts by myself while my younger brother and mom moved to Texas. So I decided to go to Texas with them. I was so, culture shock is a real thing, and I was really struggling with living in Texas. And I was so kind of impacted by those issues. I didn't know what to do. But one thing I knew is I wanted a college degree. So one of the very first things I did when I arrived in Texas was I enrolled in a local community college, just so I could keep my college, my matriculation through college and towards a degree happening. And the reason I did that is because I knew if I stopped going to college, that life could happen. I know a lot of people that were like, I'm going to take a semester off, but then they never went back to college. But I have to stay loyal to myself and I have to stay loyal to my goals. So I decided to enroll in college just to not take a semester off. That was literally the sole purpose. I was already going to go to a different university in Texas, but I just didn't want to take a semester off. So one of the first things I did was I enrolled in a community college and continued my pursuit of a college degree. And then ultimately I achieved that aim. You've got to learn how to stay committed and how to stay loyal to your goals and to yourself and not allow yourself to do things that are adversaries to your goals. You can't do things that get in the way of you achieving your goals. You have to stay loyal. There was a professional football coach here in America, a guy by the name of Bill Parcells. And someone asked Bill Parcells, like, what's the key to winning? And he paused for a second and he said, the key to winning is not doing the things that lead to losing. And he talked about winning as the goal and winning athletically as the prize. And the teams and players that win are the ones that do not habitually get in their own way. And as a psychotherapist, I have to agree with that. I see people all the time and we don't realize we're doing it. We don't do it on purpose, but we accidentally do things that get in our own way. We accidentally do things that just aren't in line with our aims And then we end up surprised that how come we're not getting to our aims? And the answer is because you did enough things to get in the way that ultimately the thing you wanted to achieve never came to fruition. I have this friend, I'll never forget this. I went to a gym and I ran into this friend at the gym. She was working out and I was working out and I hadn't seen her since college. I was like, hey, how you doing? And we talked for a minute and she had gotten there before me. So she finished before me and left. Now, when I walked out of the gym, next door to the gym is a restaurant called Kentucky Fried Chicken, a fast food, deep fried chicken place. So I'm walking out of the gym and I see my friend that I just saw in the gym on the treadmill. I see her eating a bunch of unhealthy food, fried food. And I said, what are you doing? You were just on the treadmill a little while ago. What are you doing eating all that stuff? And she said, well, I just thought I deserved a bit of a treat. And I want to be clear. She's more than welcome to have any treat that she wants. But if she has a fitness goal, whatever that goal may be, having the food that she was eating was the opposite of the goal she's trying to achieve. And she's accidentally doing something that's getting in her way. And I cannot tell you how many times I see people doing those things just in life. So the key to success sometimes is just being loyal to yourself and being loyal to your goals. And I want this to be a reminder to you that think about the goals you want to achieve. Think about the person you want to be. Think about everything you want to have in life. Make sure you're not doing things that get in the way. And do as many things as you can that move you in the direction of your goals. Thank you so much for being here today. If you wouldn't mind doing me a super huge favor, please share this podcast with at least one person that you think could benefit from hearing this message today. That would really mean the world to me. And head on over to Apple Podcasts where you can subscribe to this podcast, where you can rate this podcast, where you can leave feedback for this podcast. I'd love to hear your thoughts. In fact, do that wherever it is you listen to your podcast, and I will see you on Monday.